Okay, so tell me a bit about Fairfield Change.
Yeah, so we are a group of community organizers in Little Small Fairfield. We started in June and have been going hard ever since. And excuse me, sorry. Basically, we are organizing against systemic inequities. So that includes racism, classism, homophobia, any type of obiaism. Those are basically what we fight against. So our main priorities right now are the unhoused, and we do call them houseless. And so we do weekly distributions with the houseless, along with doing food distributions to those who suffer from food insecurity. So they get like produce and stuff like that.
Mhm.
We also provide sometimes very little times alternatives to policing. We don't have full capacity for that yet, but basically what we're interested is in community alternatives to how we deal with harm and how we fix issues, and that's basically Fairfield Change.
Okay. So, why did you, a group of you, go to the city council meeting last night?
Yes, so we went to city council meeting to kind of reshift focus back on Dustin Joseph on August 6th of this year. We went there previously, and when we went there, they didn't really provide answers. In August was when the story broke. So Dustin Joseph is essentially a police officer who's part of the Fatal 14. He's from Vallejo, which is probably one of the deadliest police forces in the country, but definitely the state. And he is responsible for Mario Romero's death. Along with that, he bends his badge to commemorate. The people who he's responsible for. And so we were basically protesting because he was hired onto Fairfield Police Department, and we don't think he should be there. We felt like City Council had ended up neglecting the issues because it's been 3 months, and we kind of tried to bring it in. So then we were just like, you know what? We just need one day where like we force them to answer our questions, because we go to City Council every single meeting. Someone from Fairfield Change is always present, and they ignore us. So we're like, you know what? No, this is serious. Him being on the police force is really indicative of the entire fabric of the police force in Fairfield. And so we were like, no, taking a stand. It's time they stop ignoring. They stop just trying to push things off, because we just talk all the time, and they just kind of just take it with a grain of salt and then move on. And we were just not doing that anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, how many of you went down to the meeting?
So we did a call to action. There was 9 of us that got arrested. There was about 9 or 10 of us inside the actual meeting itself. Whereas people in the hallway, there's about 20 to 30. I really didn't get a good estimate because I didn't get to see anyone because I was arrested before I went into the hallway. So there was a pretty good number of people.
Okay. So, tell me a little bit more about this Fatal 14.
Yeah, so, well, the Fatal 14 is a problem that like a lot of Vallejo orgs have gotten into, and not to take too much shine from them at all, but the Fatal 14 is basically a group of police officers who are responsible for a lot of deaths, a lot of lawsuits. They basically like are a group of really, really bad people. They were engaged in badge bending, and badge bending essentially is when you bend like the tip of your badge for each murder you're responsible for. So some people have killed more than one person, so they'd have like 2, and they'd have barbecues to celebrate the deaths and stuff like that. It's really a really, really disgusting practice, and that it originated in Vallejo. Now we don't know if anything happened in Fairfield, but we do know Dustin Joseph was a part of the Fatal 14 and then came to Fairfield. So as far as we know, Dustin Joseph is the only one who engaged in that, but you never know.
So, can you describe for me what led up to yourself and your colleagues being arrested?
Yeah, so it's a long lead up of events. Basically, the city has been trying to disengage public comment, which we believe is a violation of the Browns Act, because everyone's entitled to public comment. And they were allowing emails. So they allowed people to email public comment, and then they would read it, and then they stopped. And now you have to individually email each city council member with your public comment. But at that point, that's not public comment. That's just a grievance. And we're in the middle of a pandemic. Not everyone can make it to city council. And to only further like show that inequity, city council members can choose to not show up in person and come in through telephone. But if we want to do public comment, we have to come in person. That's just inherently unfair. They're our representatives. If anything, they should be forced to be here, not us. So that's one issue. And they found out that a lot of folks were upset about Dustin Joseph. We had people calling their phones, emailing them. They started blocking emails from folks. And they also started hanging up in the face. People were calling them and they would hang up in their face. Like, we already got this phone call. We don't want to talk about this, whatever. And then they decided to push public comment back. Public comment is always at the beginning of the meeting. It was agendized at the beginning of the meeting. They decided to have it at the end of the meeting instead, because they knew we were going to be there. So we didn't feel like that was fair. We allowed them to go through 2 consent calendars. We let there were some kids there doing a presentation. We let the kids do their presentation. We didn't want to ruin the moment. And then we finally called to have public comment be held, because that is how it was agendized. So we felt like it should be in order. And one thing led to another. I started chanting. I chanted 1, 2, 3, 4. Let the people take the floor. 5, 6, 7, 8. Let us all participate. And I said that 3 times. Allowed the mayor to speak for a little bit, and then he didn't really speak. He just said that was a beautiful display, but out of order. And then I then proceeded to do our next chant. I only got through 2 chants. We had 4 in total. You do chants so there's 2 chants. You do them 3 different times. Like, I don't know why we do that, but that's it. And by then, the Chuck Tim and the mayor had walked off, and the police started walking towards me. I got my phone out for our Fairfield Change live, just to record what was happening. And of course, the police deleted that. And the city manager told folks, we told them multiple times, we tried to give them every option. No, they didn't. I chanted for less than 2 minutes. 2 cops walked up to me and grabbed me. You can hear on the video that they took off from YouTube, where I'm like, don't touch me, don't touch me. There was no time. You can hear folks. People heard me. My grandma was watching, and she heard, and she knew that I was being arrested. So you can hear a little commotion, but they never once said, like, you need to go. It was straight escalation. There was no, like, baby steps, like, let's take her out, let's do this. No, straight arrest and jail. And then they section me off because they think I'm the leader. So they sectioned me off just by myself. I had to scream on the Instagram live where I was, so people had eyes on me. Because, when you're a highly visible organizer, it's extremely dangerous in these environments. And so luckily folks found me. Then they tried to put me off into another secluded room, but I was the only organizer that they kept secluded from everyone. And even when I went to jail, they threatened to put me in isolation for no reason, just because I'm the leader.
That's interesting. And so you said that they deleted the footage you took?
Yes. So I was on Instagram Live, and they stopped the footage, and they deleted it, because you can save it. It will save if you do it on Instagram, but it didn't. He took it off. He stopped it because he said I was under arrest.
Oh, wow. So, what, I guess, charges did they bring against yourself and your other colleagues?
They brought up disrupting a peaceful assembly. It's a misdemeanor.
Do you think it'll get thrown out?
If it doesn't get thrown out, it would be a miscarriage of justice. I strongly believe it will be thrown out, because the way the ordinance is construed, it says acts. So I didn't do any act. I just chanted. So you have some freedom of speech issues in there. So chances are, I believe it'll get dropped. If it doesn't, we have a DA in a county that refuses to prosecute killer cops. So choosing to prosecute protesters for rightfully demanding our right to public comment would be a very, very bad precedent.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think it's important to bring attention to cops like, it's Joseph, right?
Dustin Joseph, yeah.
Dustin Joseph, switching from police department to police department, even though they have a history of misconduct?
Well, it's extremely problematic, because then it just absolves them from any responsibility. So it allows them to essentially wreak havoc on each town, and then move, and then wreak havoc, and then move, and then wreak havoc, and then move. And there's no accountability in that process. it just and it's just inherently unfair. Like, we deserve to know who's protecting and serving us, and if we have people who are not protecting, who do they protect? Who are they serving? um every single person should be scared, because even if you think there's people who like saying, he was justified or he was already investigated, that's not the matter. The issue is the badge bending. Because as a cop, if you kill someone, even if you think you're justified, to have no remorse for taking away human life is extremely dangerous, especially when these people are allowed to kill, arrest, put people in jail with impunity. We don't question cops enough. Most people, when I was arrested, were like, good, they deserved it. Even though, like, most people think they believe in freedom of speech, by saying that, like, I need to go to jail for yelling, you're essentially like, that is a very fascist ideal. And so that's why it's extremely dangerous. And also, I think another thing that should be noted is that the police chief was like, he has due process rights. We can't do this. We can't talk about it. But as soon as I was arrested, not even a few hours later, they posted my name and the names of several other people, like Jimarielle Bowie, 23 years old, was arrested. But, oh, you can't alert the public on what's going on with Dustin Joseph, who I pay tax. People don't pay for my livelihood, but I pay for Dustin Joseph. I pay for the police chiefs. I pay for every single police officers in there. But they published my records. They published my friends' records. They published everyone who got arrested. But you can't give me no accountability. You can't give the community any update on someone who literally has killed someone. That is a very unequal balance. And if anything, cops should be held to a higher standard.
Mhm. And what about the city council members and meetings? Do you think that they handled this situation well, or do you think that they need to improve?
It was terrible. The only person I can say did a good job was Pam, because she's the only person who spoke up for us, and she's the only person who continually speaks up for us. And it's no mistake, she's also the only person of color that's ever on that table. She's a Black woman. I feel like we really empathize with one another. But, honestly, if I'm being very transparent and candid, I don't care for Rick. I don't care for Mayor Price. I don't care for Chuck Tim. I think that they constantly overlook me. They constantly mansplain me, even on things that I may have a better grasp on, particularly when it comes to the law. They constantly kind of just brush me aside, and it could be for my race, or it could also be for my womanhood. I'm thinking probably a mix of both. I've seen this with them, like last city council meeting, a white woman came up with like a beaver poster talking about beavers. It was the first time she ever came to a city council meeting. Next week, they're all about beavers, checking the beavers out there at the creek. We've been there every day since June, and they haven't given us anything. Like I said, I think if I was like a white woman that had a problem with Dustin Joseph, he probably would have been fired yesterday. And so I think it goes to show, like, they can say, like, we're not racist. We don't have racism in Fairfield, but you do. You arrested 9 people instead of just answering for one cop. You could have just answered, like, we didn't ask you to literally just fire him right there. We said answer our questions about one cop. And instead, you laid a domino effect and arrested 9 people.
Well, I think those are all of my questions, but is there anything that we didn't discuss that you think is important to say?
Yeah, I think that I would be remiss if I didn't say that Deanna Cantrell didn't play a large part in this. We knew that when she was coming, she's the new police chief. We knew when she was coming, she would be fairly problematic. I was very hesitant when she became. I was actually very scared. And that proved me right, because it's my first time ever being arrested in my life. And it was right when she was elected. When she was hired. She's only been here for almost 2 months, not that long, and have been arrested. And so have 8 other people. She just sets a very dangerous precedent. I don't like her being in that position. And I think too, not just her, but the entire police department just lacks transparency. They lack any values, and I think that they don't really answer to the community, and it's clear that the city council believes that they don't either. And there's a lot of racism in Fairfield, so my last final thought is come to Fairfield, come to Vacaville, come to Vallejo, come to your small cities. These city council members get to go run rampant without accountability. Racism runs rampant in these towns. Like, Black people are harassed so much more than white people in this town. So I would be remiss if I didn't say that.